You've been there, right? You get a text from a friend that feels like a punch to the gut, or a passing comment from a coworker, one they probably forgot 2 seconds after saying it, somehow manages to ruin your entire day, maybe even your week. Your mind starts racing. You replay the words, the tone, the context, over and over, building this perfect, airtight case against them. You're convinced the pain comes from their words, from their ignorance, from their betrayal. But what if that whole story is a lie? A sophisticated and convincing story your mind tells you to protect you from a much deeper, more ancient truth. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung provided a powerful framework for understanding this. He theorized that the real reason you get hurt is almost never just about what happened in the moment. Instead, an event often acts like a homing missile for a wound, an invisible injury that you've been carrying with you for a very, very long time. Understanding this one profound secret is the first step to finally disarming your pain's power over you. This isn't a journey of blaming yourself. It's the journey of liberating yourself. Have you ever found yourself completely consumed by something someone did or said? It always starts with a spark. Let's imagine a guy named Mark. Mark's in a team meeting at work. He's presenting a project he has poured weeks of his life into. He is, say, proud of Italiano, as he wraps up his manager. Sarah says to the room, "Thank you, Mark. This is a good start. But for the next phase, we really need to bring in someone with more strategic experience to guide it." For most people in the room, it's a typical, impersonal business comment. But for Mark, the world tilts hot, sickening. Shame floods his chest. The room feels blurry, the sounds muffled, except for Sarah's words, which echo and magnify in his head. Someone with more strategic experience. For the rest of the day, Mark is a ghost. He replays the moment. Dissecting Sarah's tone, was it dismissive? Condescending? He remembers she praised a colleague last month for their strategic insight. The evidence piles up. Sarah doesn't respect him. She thinks he's a fraud. By evening, that single comment has ballooned into a full-blown story of injustice. He feels a burning anger towards her and a deep sense of being a victim. The pain, he is certain, was caused by Sarah. This whole automatic response is what we could call the Great Deception. It's a mental shortcut. Event A. The comment caused. Feeling B. The pain. This story is so compelling because it gives us a target for our suffering. It is so much easier to build a case against Sarah than it is to turn our gaze inward, into the vast, complicated landscape of our own psyche. That feeling of righteous anger can feel powerful for a moment, but it's a trap. Why? Because if the cause of your suffering is entirely outside of you and another person's words or actions, then the solution must also be outside of you. Your peace of mind now depends on them apologizing, on them changing, on them finally seeing the error of their ways. And trying to control other people is a perfect recipe for endless frustration. Mark is trapped. His inner peace is held hostage by Sarah. He has handed the keys to his own emotional well-being to someone who doesn't even know she has them. This is the lie we live. They hurt me. The insult, the betrayal, it's not the entire source of your suffering. It's often just the messenger. So, if Sarah's comment isn't the whole story behind Mark's intense pain, what is? This is where the work of Carl Jung offers a roadmap to liberation. Jung's theories suggest that people and events in our lives don't always create brand new pain. Instead, they often trigger pain that is already there, dormant, waiting in the unconscious. They reopen a wound we didn't even know we had. Imagine your inner world as a vast cave system. Over your life, certain experiences carve out deep, hallowed chambers. A moment in childhood when you felt ignored might have carved out a chamber of invisibility. A failure in school that led to embarrassment might have carved out a chamber of inadequacy. These are your unconscious wounds. For years, these chambers can lie silent. Now, Pictur Sarah is common. We need someone with more strategic experience. As a sound entering the mouth of this cave, if the cave were solid rock, the sound would be a small thud. It's just data. It's heard, processed, and it fades. But in Mark's cave, the sound finds a huge, hollowed-out chamber, the chamber of "I'm not good enough." When the sound enters this specific chamber, it doesn't just make a thud, it creates a deafening echo that shakes the very foundations of the cave. The pain Mark feels is not a sound itself. It is techo. Sarah didn't create the wound, she unknowingly yelled into it. This is the central secret. The disproportionate pain is often the echo of your own history. Jung called a container for these wounds the shadow. The shadow isn't just our pain. It's all the parts of ourselves that we've repressed or disowned. It holds our insecurities, our unacceptable desires, our hidden angers, and our deepest fears. It's formed when we learn that certain parts of our authentic selves aren't welcome. A sensitive boy told boys don't cry might push his vulnerability into the shadow. These parts don't disappear. They just live in the dark, waiting. Let's go back to Mark. Why did Sarah's comment create such a huge echo? Maybe as a child, his brother was a star athlete, constantly praised by their father. Mark was quieter, more studious. And his father would always ask, "But did you see what your brother did today?" The unspoken message, "You're second best." This created a deep wound, a core belief that he'd always be overlooked for someone more impressive. Now, as an adult, that wound is dormant. But when Sarah says, "We need someone with more strategic experience," her words perfectly fit the shape of that old wound. In his unconscious mind, she is his father, and his colleague is his brother. The pain feels fresh, but it's a ghost. There's a simple analogy for this. The purple turtle. If someone walks up to you and says, "You are a purple turtle," you laugh. The insult is absurd. It doesn't hurt because there's no part of your brain, conscious or unconscious, that holds a secret fear that you might be a purple turtle. The comment has no chambered echo in. But what if they say, "You are incompetent"? If you feel that sharp sting, that's a message. It's a signal that somewhere inside, a part of you fears you might be incompetent. The insult only has power because it speaks to a pre-existing insecurity. When we refuse to see this, we spend our lives trying to police what other people say. When we own our insecurities, their words become less relevant. We project our renowned shadow onto the world. Mark sees Sarah as a dismissive villain, but she is simply a mirror, reflecting his own inner critic back at him. As Jung famously said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This process of looking at the echo instead of the shout is how we begin to make our own darkness conscious. Understanding this mechanism that the intense pain is an echo is the key that unlocks the prison door. It doesn't mean the pain instantly vanishes, but it fundamentally changes your relationship with it. The moment of being triggered is no longer just a catastrophe. It's an opportunity. The pain is no longer just your enemy. It becomes your guide, pointing directly to the part of you that's asking for healing. So, what does this actually look like? It begins with a deceptively simple first step: the sacred pause. The moment you feel that sting, your programming screams at you to react, defend, attack. The sacred pause is the choice to do nothing, just for a moment. You don't have to solve it or respond. Just stop. Take one conscious breath. In that tiny wedge of space between trigger and reaction, you create a new choice. In that pause, you ask yourself one revolutionary question. What is the old belief about myself that this is activating? You're no longer staring at the person who yelled into the cave. You're turning a flashlight onto the shape of the cave itself. Let's follow Mark. He's in his office, heart pounding. His old pattern would be to draft a furious email to Sarah, but this time, he stops. He closes his eyes. He breathes. He resists the urge to focus on Sarah, and he asks the question. What is the old belief about myself that her words are activating? At first, his mind is loud with anger. She's unfair, but he lets those thoughts pass. He asks again. What's the belief about myself? And then, a quieter voice emerges. It whispers, the belief that I'm an imposter, that no matter how hard I work, I'll be found out as not good enough. The belief that I'll always be second best. This is a moment of shattering truth. It's painful, but it's also a moment of immense power. The power is no longer in Sarah's hands. It's not about her. comment. It's about his long-held belief in his own inadequacy. This isn't self-blame. It's radical self-responsibility and, more importantly, self-compassion. You're not saying, "It's my fault I feel this way." You're saying, "The capacity to feel this way lives in me, and now I can understand it." You are finally giving a wounded part of your psyche the attention it never received. Think of it like a glowing red light on the dashboard of your soul. For most of your life, whenever another driver on the road does something that makes your light flash, you get angry at them. "Look what you made me do." This new path is realizing the other driver didn't install the red light. The trigger is a gift. Of course, this doesn't excuse harmful behavior like harassment or abuse. Some actions are damaging in themselves, create new wounds, and it's essential to protect yourself from them. But for those everyday slights and misunderstandings, the person who hurts you is often, unwittingly, showing you exactly where you are, not yet free. They're showing you the flashing red light on your own dashboard that is begging for your attention. So, you've paused. You've asked the question. You've found the belief. "I'm not good enough. I'm unlovable. I'm invisible. What now?" This is where the deep, alchemical work of healing begins. This is the heart of what Jung called individuation, the journey of becoming whole. The next stage is not to fix or destroy the wound. The path forward is one of integration. It means bringing the disowned parts of you out of the darkness and into the light of your conscious self. You have to give that wounded part a voice. For Mark, this might look like opening a journal. Instead of writing about Sarah, he begins a dialogue with the part of him that feels like an imposter. He might write, "Dear part of me that feels not good enough. Tell me your story. When was the first time you felt this way?" And the story might come pouring out. The story of his brother, his father's withheld praise, a teacher who embarrassed him. He simply listens. He holds space for it. He offers it the one thing it never got: acceptance. He might say to it, "I see you. I hear you. It makes sense that you feel this way. I'm here with you now." This is shadow work. It's the courageous act of facing the parts of yourself you've been taught to reject. Jung, drawing on the language of alchemy, called this stage the nigredo, or the blackening. It can feel like a dark night of the soul as your old defenses start to dissolve. But on the other side of this darkness is not destruction. It's wholeness. So, what does an integrated Mark look like? Let's fast forward 6 months. He's in another meeting. A senior colleague challenges his data, saying, "I'm not sure these numbers are telling the whole story." The old Mark would have felt that same hot flush of shame and become defensive. But the new Mark has a different experience. He feels a brief, familiar, pang a flicker of the old insecurity. But now, it's a whisper, not a roar. It no longer consumes him. He can acknowledge the feeling internally. There's that not good enough feeling. I know you, without becoming it. Because he isn't hijacked by the emotion, he's free to respond from his adult self. He can look at his colleague and say, "That's a fair point. Let's walk through the data. I want to understand what you're seeing." The trigger has lost its power. The wound has become a scar. A scar tells a story of an injury, but it no longer bleeds every time it's touched. This is what it means to build profound resilience. It's not about becoming an unfeeling robot or building armor around your heart. True resilience comes from a state of radical openness, where you have nothing left to hide. It means that when someone's words come towards you, they can no longer find that hidden, festering wound to latch onto. The pain was never just in the words. It was amplified by the wound. By healing the wound, the words lose their toxic power. This journey inward, of facing your shadow and reclaiming the lost parts of yourself, is one of the most courageous and rewarding you will ever take. It is the path away from being a victim of your life and toward becoming the conscious creator of it. If this resonates with you and you want to keep exploring your own psychology for true and lasting healing, consider subscribing for more content that guides you on this path. And if you know someone who feels trapped in a cycle of hurt, who might find a glimmer of freedom in this message, please consider sharing this with them. Sometimes, a single idea is the key that unlocks a door they thought was sealed forever. For so much of our lives, we live under the spell of the great deception. The lie is that our pain comes from outside of us. We spend our energy trying to control the world. Shankotas, and win arguments, all to protect ourselves from being hurt. The truth, the secret that Carl Jung and the great wisdom traditions have pointed to, is that our most outsized pain is an echo. It's an echo from a past injury, reverberating in the present. The people who trigger us are not our enemies. They are our messengers. They are unconscious guides, pointing us directly to the unhealed places in our own hearts. The power to disarm your pain has always been within you. It lies not in building higher walls, but in having the courage to venture into your own inner cave. Find the wounded parts of you hiding in the dark and bring them home. The journey isn't about becoming immune to life. It is about becoming so whole and grounded in your own authentic self that an insult or a betrayal has nowhere to land. It may still sting, but it no longer has the power to shatter you. The chamber it was meant to echo in has been filled with the light of your own conscious, loving awareness. This is not an easy journey, but it is the only one that leads to true and lasting freedom.